Hey Ben, how's it going?
Greetings.
How's it going?
It's going all right.
That's good.
What about you? How's your day?
Hey Ben, how's it going?
Oops. Wrong. Oops. Greetings.
How's it going?
It's going all right.
Did you mute?
Hello?
I stopped my YouTube. Apologies again.
That's okay.
This is the topic that's on my mind is that how much these like chat rooms of like 2001 or like 1999. Like this is I just used to use chat doing politics and stuff. And it's just so eventually it's only slightly different. I guess there's maybe video option. I guess the audience being way more specific.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
What's up? Oh no, I just want to comment that like chat rooms like really like fell out of practice or out of use. Like it was just like Yahoo chats. I just think that it's kind of like a free place, kind of like a park bench. It's like not exactly necessary to build or have. And I think like a couple years ago I found myself saying like, what happened to chat? What happened to, not that I'm treating this as obviously as like meaningless or something as sometimes those and tweets and YouTube comments can be, but just that it's in some ways there's some similarities. Just a group of people talking about something, and in those back in those Yahoo chats there was like an audio section. Always try to like talk over each other a lot of times. Actually, I would actually say that despite all the bots, almost the conversation in the chat room is actually more focused than you will see like any live stream or any YouTube chat, because usually there's a lot of crud and inane. I like that word. I used to hate that word. Inanities, inane, meaningless. Just a lot of stuff that you like. No point to read. Yes, which is one reason why it makes a person inclined to like want to come somewhere where people are taking what they're saying seriously and having a little more like that's a responsibility. Like, account like you put yourself out there, and then like if you don't act like behave like civilly or appropriately, then you get like responses for that. So there's something on the line, and so I think that helps people like speak and be more respectful and so forth. So anyway, I just kind of like being meta or whatever, contemplating the thing, or talking about the medium.
Yeah,
that's just what's on my mind for some reason.
That's okay.
Hi, Eric.
Hey, Broken, how's it going?
Just lovely. So, did you watch the Tim interview or the Tim thing with Seder?
Not yet.
Oh, holy hell!
I've been really
holy
busy.
Hell! If you want to know the opinion, here's the thing: if you want to know the opinion of a New Yorker who's hooked into the establishment and gets paid by establishment media, if you want to know that opinion and sort of just badgering away on that opinion, then he's your guy. Seder's your guy. God, holy fuck. Let's just start from the beginning. His whole premise is that all the people that are progressives are really dragging us down. They drug down Hillary. And, it was the Bernie bus people. This is sort of his thinking, okay? And he's got his usual snide way of dealing with things because he'll say things in absolutes, okay? So his first thing is, well, if these people, kind of thing is he believes Hillary would have been a decent president. So if we just start from that premise right there, the rest of the country doesn't think that, you know, and so he's hooked into sort of this view that is so slanted, and so, but it's, you know, he's good at talking over people and making BS points. Okay, so if we just go from the premise right off, we didn't think Hillary was going to win. We didn't think she had it in her to even win against Trump. You know, or at least I didn't. And that's why I went all the way to Philly to fight that, because I knew she's going to lose. And she did. And that's the thing about hello, Kelley. Hi. The way Seder speaks, Seder speaks from the point at which Hillary's already won. You know, if only these people would have just, you know, sucked it up and accepted corporatism, then everything would be beautiful. And he even, you know, and he downplays the idea of, well, Susan Sarandon wasn't right. This isn't the revolution. Well, bullshit. You know, first off, Tim says, well, what about the million woman march? And he says, well, that wouldn't happen because Hillary was in. Hillary would have been in, and they're Hillary voters. Now, wait a second. That's the problem. That's the problem progressives have with that little clique of the Acela, you know, the Acela corridor, basically Boston to DC. That corridor of thinking is that we have to be, we have to suck up to Wall Street because we need money. You know, and that's the only way to run a campaign. I mean, you know, no matter what he says, he supports that system. He supports a system where people were losing and would lose worse under Clinton. They weren't going to win big under Clinton. Nothing was going to change for them for the better. She would have passed the TPP. We would have seen less jobs, you know. And so I watched that thing, and it's just maddening because he speaks over to him, and then he goes on the Seth Rich thing and how, oh, it's a big conspiracy. Hey, man, nobody has really said that it's a positive thing or that they did it, but you know, it's a possibility. It's as possible as a botched robbery, you know, or whatever that horse crap was today, where it said it could have been a serial killer. Now, man, you are stretching. You know, if you figured out the number of serial killers in the United States that have been caught or have done things in a serial killer type way, it's like being afraid of terrorists. You know, I'm not going to be afraid of terrorists. I'm not going to be afraid of this sudden oh God, now I listen this idea that we got streets that are just crawling with serial killers, you know, because both those things are crap. Anyhow, I watched the interview, and needless to say, there were many things that I have a problem with Seder about, because Seder accepts the system as it is. He thinks the system is acceptable the way it is, and that people aren't continuing to lose under the guise of a Democratic leader. And he doesn't, you know, in all his speculation about how Hillary would be so much better, he doesn't really talk about how if Hillary won, they wouldn't run a Donald Trump in 2020. They'll run somebody that could beat her and would be far more fascist than Trump. You know, for as much as he thinks Trump is some, you know, super villain, he's no different than 90% of the Republicans. But they've made him into a super villain. He has to be a super villain because they're friends. They hang out with Republicans, and they're not bad people. You know, these people aren't bad people. Chris Hayes isn't a sellout. You know, Rachel Maddow isn't a sellout. You know. Anyhow, I'm going to shut up for a little while and let other people talk about it. But it had me torqued to the gills listening to that interview, because Sam Seder and that sidekick, you know, they have this Michael Brooks. They have this attitude of, we're right, you're wrong, and that's it. And that the thing is, he isn't right. He isn't correct. And I'm not saying I'm totally correct, but I know he isn't correct. You know, his reading of the people comes from, you know, like a 6-block area of New York or whatever. His view of America is not, is way skewed. His view is of somebody that is in the New York jury who is also comfortable. You know, he's not, you know, losing his house or something. So his attitude about these things is, well, you know, Hillary would have got around to him. You know, which, hang on, mother, I'm going to shut up. Go ahead.
I think you're absolutely right, Broken. I felt the same way about Seder. So I love when you have a lot to say. It's great.
So hold on, we switch over to my computer.
So
I just like to make the point always that whenever I'm not a Christian myself, but when I meet people and I find out later that they're this or that religion or Christian or not, I guess more often, or like it's very similar to like whenever I find out somebody's like Republican and we hadn't known about it, like because I guess I'm Democrat. Democrat leaning traditionally value wise, but like in the same phenomenon where it's just like I think I like either like a person or don't like them very much independently of any of those categories, like of either that, you know, no matter where they fall on religion or politics. I just like generally just can very much just can like somebody and feel like they're, you know, nice.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not picking on Jews. I'm picking on the AIPAC type people that see, well, we've got to bomb Syria because of the Russian. You know, because of the Russian, which is bullshit. We're bombing Syria because of the Saudis and the Israelis. That's why we're bombing Syria. Because of the Russian, you know.
somebody
So,
has
we're
the
bombing
YouTube
Syria
thing
because of the Saudis and the Israelis. That's why we're bombing Syria. Because of the Russian, you know.
Got it. Hang on. Oh, it's me.
We all keep doing that periodically.
And anyhow, so that wasn't a cut on Jews. That was a cut on a certain type of New Yorker, that's hooked into a system that, you know, how let's put it this way. If you look at the people that surround Chris Hayes on any given show, how many of them do you think have virulent views or have really bad views about AIPAC? You know, not about J Street, but about AIPAC, which is a huge difference. You know, there's a line that needs to be drawn, and we're not drawing it. We're allowing, in the way that tonight's conversation between Teslin and him was about helping black people helping each other. This isn't a problem for the average, you know, the average person in New York, in the media. You know, that isn't, you know, it's not like a gigantic problem. I'm sure they get hate mail and, you know, horrible shit from bad people. But there's a difference. There's a difference. I may have used the wrong word there, and I'm sorry for that. But it's still the same.
I know what you mean. It's not that they're Jewish. It's that certain group, their experience, their economic, their geographic, you know, everything, where they are and how they see everything. I mean, that's just how we are divided in those groups, unfortunately. Can anybody tell me? Tim said something, I missed the very beginning, so I don't know if he was referencing something to the early part of the interview, but he said something about, and he said, and I have a majority white audience, which kind of, I went, oh, yeah, I guess he does. But
well, I mean,
another topic, but do you know who he was referring to that, I guess someone was saying something that they should.
Okay. I guess I'm only speculating about this because when I encountered Tim, for the first time, which was about 3 years ago. This was back when he was talking about majority-wise a lot about black issues, issues relating to the black community.
But I want to hear what you have to say. But do you know what he was referring to?
I guess part of it is what he's referring to is just sort of the influx he got from during the Bernie Sanders as he latched more closely with the progressive movement. He started picking up more audiences who were focused on things. Obviously, he kept a lot of his black audience. I'm more than positive about that. But he also gained a lot of new whites who weren't necessarily exposed to his content before because he was talking about Sanders and was willing to give positive press coverage.
Right. No, but I think that's true. I'm just wondering, it seemed like he was referencing that someone was talking in a way that he wasn't.
He's referencing Dillon Roof shooting, and that one of the shooter's victims' family members or relatives wanted to come on the show, but he couldn't. He said he had a lot of majority white viewers, and he couldn't have people on there saying that kind of stuff. That's what Tim just said.
Okay.
He's referencing his decision, which he's referenced in other episodes, which is his other I don't know, whatever, streams or whatever. Other videos. He's referenced that decision that he wants to give everybody a platform. Especially somebody who's suffered a tragic loss or something But he said that since she was going to be presumably apologizing like she did in a press conference and forgiving and trying to take that angle. And he connected that also with they were discussing the shooting of the guy who was running.
Oh yeah, which one?
Family member there. Something she said that the family member said, "Oh well, it'll just happen," and quoted a Bible passage. And that was kind of the conversation.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I thought this was that it was sort of brought up as a more esoteric,
right,
from a more meta perspective.
Well, I think looking at it that way, you can just see that has more to do with. Tim was speaking to a group, the Bernie or Buster group, who, and we all know that Bernie didn't connect with a lot of Black America early enough or at all, especially in the southern states. So
he connected with the young ones. It's the older ones.
Absolutely. Yeah, older.
Yeah. He had every demographic in younger people.
Right. I should have.
That was the thing was you had people. Yeah, and it's just, that's like trying to get right-wing senior citizens to vote for a Democrat. That's the kind of, so that's, I think that's sort of the if you want to sort of draw a parallel, that's a parallel.
Well, okay,
I try not to be.
We should take note of and remember that actually there was that. It was revealed that, or we found out that they were spreading narratives within Black communities and stuff, saying that the Bernie bro thing was just a bunch of spoiled white kids that were just too spoiled, and that they were for this radical guy. But what we really need to do is hang tight and be resolute with Clinton, which is fine as a point or an argument, but it's not fine when you subtly try to plant that argument places and influence. I think what the records that showed, one of the many things that were revealed in WikiLeaks and many questionable practices with her honorary chairperson the day before was the chairwoman of DNC, with many questions and problematic things that were revealed in those emails that the whole public and all mainstream media refused to address or talk about because still to this day, it's Russia. Russia is this thing it's this real quick to say this, Russia is this thing that no matter what, its ambiguousness and its perpetual mystery works as a great good for people who don't want the DNC and the Democrats and Clinton folks, supporters that don't want the truth to really get out there, because since it's a perpetual mystery, if we were to get to the bottom of it and realize Russia did it, fine, then we could actually say, but what about what Hillary? What about the things that were exposed? Then maybe we could have that conversation, because that's how it's working as. It's working as a way to we don't have that conversation. And then, but if we found out that Russia unequivocally didn't do it, it wasn't Russia did it, then we would still be able to have that conversation. But either way, now this thing perpetually stands in the way, and at some point it becomes staler and less like of a conversation. Actually,
right. So that was kind of gonna be how I started tonight. I talked to Ivan about talking about the Putin interviews, and I don't know if, has anyone else on here seen?
We don't. I don't know. I don't have Showtime. I saw a little bit of the interview on Democracy Now, but I haven't seen.
Okay, I signed up for a free trial just to watch this. But yeah, so it's very eye-opening if you watch the whole thing. And so I wanted to talk about that, and also all of those things, the reaction that he's getting everywhere that he's been. I thought Amy Goodman on Democracy Now was probably the most, as usual, the most neutral. But I noticed even in that interview, she was visibly uncomfortable when there was a part where Oliver Stone was saying, I was getting worried about his health, like he doesn't sleep enough, which is a little odd, admittedly, that Oliver Stone, he spent so much time with Putin that he felt a connection to him, but I thought that was a little strange. He was worried about him, but Amy Goodman was visibly uncomfortable with how he sounded like he's fawning all over Putin, in that, and just in that part. I don't think he was in the rest of it. I think he was very fair and just, and that little part where he was talking about his routine, and then he does.
Yeah, that. To be fair, I think I'd be pretty uncomfortable too. It's like
and
you didn't realize who he is, right?
Well, yeah. So she clarified that, she made the point to say, oh, well, you're talking about this was before the election, and after the election, to kind of, I don't know, to temper what he was saying with, this was, before all the anti-Russia stuff or this feverish, hysteria we have now. But
he asked, the part of the interview I saw, he asked him in 2015 if Russia's involved, and he says no, And first off, I don't believe Russian politicians much more than I believe American politicians, or I don't believe them anymore, should I say.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, there's been, much like everything else, there's been a concerted media effort to stoke us into war again, stoke us into another war, deeper, and the idea that somehow Putin is an evil guy, but Barack Obama, who didn't close Gitmo, who oversaw warrantless wiretapping, or oversaw the expansion of that program, anyhow, yeah. So I mean, there has to be some contrast, if you're going to say, look, just because he's a smiley, good-looking guy, the idea of killing his own citizen, a 15-year-old or 16-year-old kid in another country with a drone is somehow acceptable. But Putin's evil. I agree. Putin probably has lots of negatives about him. But that's not, it's much. Stone did another movie that I actually went and saw in a movie theater south of the border.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get a chance, watch it, because it's a good sort of a bookend to this interview. He gives people interviews. He lets them answer the questions, and doesn't try to, badger upon somebody. And he does look at, actual reality in a country.
Right. So at the end of the Putin interviews, Putin, who I think actually has quite a sense of humor, and I'm sorry, everybody can call me a Putin apologist. I don't really care. But I've actually never thought, just a feeling, I don't know, or listening to stuff over the years, I've actually never thought he was as bad as, say, Assad, or as bad as what we've been told. I don't know if anyone else remembers. There was a letter that Putin wrote. I believe it was in the New York Times. I tried to pull it up, but I've looked at too many free articles, so I couldn't pull it up. And I'm not about to resubscribe to the New York Times. I already told them off. So, but there was a letter that Putin had written, like basically to America. I believe it was when Obama was running the second time, maybe, but it made a lot of sense. It just made sense. So I'll just go ahead and say that I've never thought he's as bad as our government has made him out to be. That's not to say there aren't shady things that have happened, as you said, but anyway, his sense of humor at the end of the Showtime, the Putin interviews with Oliver Stone, he says to Oliver Stone, "Have you ever been beaten?" And he's like, "Huh?" And he says, "You're gonna get it when this airs, like from your own country, from that's what he was saying." And sure enough, I mean, I could barely stomach the Colbert interview. I thought, oh my God, I can't believe I used to watch Colbert, and it's been a long time. I gave up on him quite a long time ago because I think he's like the rest of them, just in a chorus of pro corporate America and. But anyway, what I noticed, so the audience is just going right along and wait, it's working, right? The audience is just laughing at things that Colbert says. I mean, they're sheep. I'm sorry, but I was just like, oh my God, everyone hasn't even seen this, and they're reacting this way. And but what was really interesting is if you go to that YouTube clip of Oliver Stone being interviewed with Colbert, and you start reading the comments down below, it's all like basically giving Colbert hell. So I think we may have a situation where it's just like during the primaries, the idiot box is saying Hillary's winning. The idiot box is saying it's Russia, Russia, Russia. And the general public is saying, no, because all the comments were negative. Last time I checked, they were all like, what is this? So
something to be said for that. Like they're telling us our eyes aren't open, but our eyes are open a bit more than they're saying they're open.
Right. So you've got people, online. Again, it's this it's that contrast between what's on the boob tube. Sorry, all my mother's various terms for television. It's what's on TV is in a total contrast of what's going on online. And it was not, Colbert did not get kudos for that interview.
When I first saw Colbert's new show, I highly anticipated him coming back on. And then the first episode, he did this elaborate bit with some kind of like weird like ox ram horns or something, and like how he was like had sold out now and he obeyed the master or something.
Oh yeah.
An apology. And I was like, so he's telling, and then he like was like trying to advertise, I guess, Oreos or something. And I was just like, okay, so in product advertising, I mean, it's really been being pushed recently. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to like this. This is just like, he just went on too far. Like it was just weird. And I thought like, he thought it was funny too much and that like, that was inappropriate somehow. Like, and just because like he was staking, he's like, I'm on the side of selling out. Like I'm on the side of product placement. He literally said like,
he told us.
Like a joke, but he said like, well, you have to do certain things to be able to get here in this spot. And like that's what he said in his first episode. And then like I tried 3.5 months, 4 months later, I tried to like tune in. I was like, it's clear. I want to watch it. Like I want to watch. Like I bet it's good or something. I tuned in, and that same episode, he like popped open a Bud Light or a Coors Light. I forgot which one it was.
Right yeah, it's funny. Like
I was like, that was the first time I tried it back in, and I was like, I'm done, dude.
Yeah. No. Yeah, it's like he's being facetious, but it's like, did you ever read the study where there were apparently like groups of college kids? It was early on in the Colbert Report, not towards the end, but that there were some on the right that thought that he was actually conservative, and that they knew he was joking around, but they took it that way, which I thought, well, that's pretty stupid. But
say like broken carpet. I was just gonna say like a couple people had some really good points that they've brought up, and I mean not to be. I don't want to like I think I'm forced. I feel uncomfortable because I feel like I'm forced to sound insensitive when I say this, but like I know that there are more issues out there, and whenever I was listening to the interview with Tim and that gal just now. I was almost thinking I would call in and ask her like a critical question, which is like, I was saying like, you know, okay, we're tired of just people just saying saying that they're going to change things or saying they're going to be for us, and you know that they're going to be tough or something, and like want to be the leader. What is your real plans for specific policies that you're not going to back down from, and how are you going to keep that a mainstream enough? How are you going to explain it enough logically and basically in key points? Because you know I want those kind of promises before we like propel anyone else up. But I was thinking that, but really though she did a good job. And I believe that a lot of things she said she expressed herself well. She said a lot of cool things, and I don't mean to. And she said a lot of things I agree with. But at the same time, the only specific policy points that I got out of her that I saw were that she said like she could be for military and before industry, and then also she really was the real issue socially that she was talking about was all based around the it seemed to be more based around like you know police shootings, and I think that Tim immersed himself, well, it's not because he's immersed himself into all the rest of the world, all the other issues. He's not saying he's unaware of it, but I'm saying it's easier for a black person, a black individual, to be like more like that's my whole world. That's an existential issue. Police violence is the main, and to feel that, and I'm not blaming anyone for coming from that. And I think that the same thing Broken Carpenter was trying to say about, I don't know how it got into it. I'm not privy to everything that we were discussing about that, but I just know that you were saying about like the Jewish worldview, and that's how they feel too. And so connecting that, I can see how you're connecting that. And I think somebody raised the point yesterday about, I think it was also a good point, which is about how Republicans and then progressives all agree that it wasn't Trump, so we got a majority. That kind of ties along also in the point that that you were just making, Kelley, about So I just wanted to kind of bring up, and like Garden Gnome, I know was making some great points yesterday. So I just hate missing good points. You know, things that
I write them down sometimes, and then you know it's hard sometimes. You forget and got to jump back in with your point.
Well, I watched the Putin interviews, the first two of them, and I haven't been following the media coverage on it, but I saw nothing in there to demonize, that's worth demonizing Stone over. I mean, he was just asking questions. He asked some tough questions too of Putin. I mean, is the media saying that he's licking Putin's boot or something? I mean,
I mean, it's really they're just ridiculing him. Like, how dare he be at all sympathetic to him? I mean, I don't know. I like Oliver Stone a lot, and I applaud him for doing that. But it just shows how much being in the anti-war left right now is like, that's a bad thing, because the centrist Democrats now they're war hawks. And so I have to go. Oh, go ahead, bro.
No, go ahead, Kelley. I'll let you finish.
Oh, okay. Well, so I'm having to kind of, read a lot because I don't know Russian history. Hell, I don't even know, some of more recent stuff. Like Putin mentioned this in the interviews about when Bush was president. That was it. I've got to pull up my stuff here about NATO and how he was trying to basically, I think, get Putin, or I can't remember. Hold on, I'll make your point. I want to make sure I get these details.
Okay, yeah. You're talking about the expansion of NATO, which was an asinine thing to do.
Right. So Putin
After the fall of the Soviet Union, we decided that we needed to run those countries. And he made some very good points about the fact that these small countries that are in NATO, they never veto anything.
Yeah, he says they're basically vassals of the United States. And he said these anti-ballistic missile stations, or whatever they're called, if you can look at the map, they showed it on the Showtime thing, and they're encircling Russia all the way around. And he's like, overnight, these can be turned into, offensive, not defensive, So it really, when you hear all this, it's like, wait a minute, how is the U.S. the good guys in this situation? And
I feel bad. Like even though I try to frame what I was saying really, I think I try to frame it really carefully. I still feel bad about because I don't mean to be like insensitive or put down like discussion just now. I just think Tim did also bring up like peace. Maybe she sort of differentiated with him a little bit slightly about that issue, but I know that Tim and this crowd audience are pretty aware of the fact that there's a lot of different issues. But I just but they only mentioned really maybe those three basic as principles, and I think the really important thing is to have principles and to have certain like policies and things that we want to realize that are pragmatic and common sense. And like
right, and avoiding nuclear war would be good. And the way Putin was talking was like, nobody's going to survive that, and that he seems to want peace and partnership, and we're being assholes. I mean, really.
Well, and we're not looking. The thing about it is, everybody doesn't look at history. That as a judge, the Russian people had to fight Hitler. The Russian people, for all our bravado about how
the Russians won World War II, dude. Russians
won World War II. They lost millions of people in Russia to World War II. They survived horrible the siege around Leningrad was horrible. Well, it was Leningrad at that time. It was still Leningrad at that time. Anyhow, that informs the people that live there. Much like we view things from Pearl Harbor, they view things from Russia, getting attacked by the Germans. So the idea that we encircled their country with a whole bunch of crap doesn't make them feel comfy. And right. I can see why, And so I just wanted to point something out about Stone, though, okay? And this will just be very short. But when these people are talking to Oliver Stone about things, okay? Stone was admitted to Yale University. This is it, it says Stone was admitted to Yale University, but left in 1965 at the age of 18 to teach high school students English for 6 months in Saigon at the Free Pacific Institute in South Vietnam. Afterwards, he worked as a wiper on the United States merchant ship and traveling to Oregon, yada, yada. In April 1967, Stone enlisted in the United States Army and requested combat duty in Vietnam. From September 16, 1967 to April 1968, he served in Vietnam with the 2nd Platoon B Company, 3rd Battalion, 25th Infantry Division, was twice wounded in action. He was transferred to the 1st Cavalry Division, participating in long-range patrols, which is before being transferred again to drive for motorized infantry units at the unit until November 68. For his service, his military awards include the Bronze Star with a V device for heroism, Purple Heart with bronze oak leaf cluster to denote 2 awards, the Air Medal, the Army Commendation Medal, the National Defense Service Medal, the Vietnam Service Medal, the Vietnam Campaign Medal, and the Combat Infantryman Badge. Okay, now you think about these sons of bitches on television that are his worldview is informed by being shot at by people he didn't really want to be shooting back at after he learned got hip to what was happening, And so the idea that he's seeing the same thing happening and he's seeing the same sort of, rather than trying to figure out a way to diplomatically figure shit out. And I'm not saying Trump or Clinton, either one, was going to be great at diplomacy. They both suck at it, but vilifying Putin in this Russian narrative is a dangerous narrative.
It's really dangerous. I'm actually scared. I mean, this is not good. The other interview on was CBS this morning, I think what's her name, Nora O'Donnell. I don't know.
Nora O'Donnell.
I don't watch and Oprah's best friend. Whatever. I don't really watch this stuff, but he's on in that interview. He's talking about how Putin said that about we don't meddle on others. No, we don't know. We don't know whether that's really true, but
it's probably not.
And they do. I mean, they historically have done things in especially.
Right.
I think
just
he
like
used
China,
Anarchist Catalonia, and the Black Army.
He said large countries.
Right.
At some point during that. So
but as far as like hacking our election in 20, and so Nora O'Donnell, she's like, well, that's a flat out lie, and Oliver Stone is just like, well, no, actually, that was an assessment by, our intelligence agencies. There's been no evidence. And I'm just like, I can't believe that I live in a country where we have this going on and masses of people believe this with no, I mean, you could just say Russia hacked the election and half the country just takes that as fact. And it's just dangerous because then everyone would be behind, military action against Russia. It's just frightening. And so I also wanted to point out, I actually will link this I said I would do that before on another thing and I didn't, but because we're talking about Putin so much, I'm going to link this on YouTube. Does anyone read consortiumnews.com?
Yeah.
Robert Perry, they're great. And I kind of, was disappointed with The Intercept recently, so I've been reading even more of this. But this one is how Vladimir Putin sees the world, and he is basically analyzing the documentary that Stone did, and so he's basically in here. He talks about that. How, actually, it's not overnight; it's a couple of hours that those anti-ballistic missile systems could just be turned to be, pointed against them. But he, let's see, he talks about, regarding NATO expansion into Eastern Europe, Putin said there was a deal not to expand NATO eastward. But this deal was not enshrined in paper. It was a mistake made by Mr. Gorbachev. In politics, everything must be enshrined in paper. Hi, Yvonne.
Hey, Yvonne.
So, my impression, Putin continues, my impression is that in order to justify its existence, NATO has a need of an external foe. There's a constant search for the foe or some acts of provocation to name someone as an adversary. And he says, these are there are two threats for Russia. The first, the placement of these anti-ballistic missiles in the vicinity of our border in the Eastern European countries. The second threat, this is where I'm repeating that part. This is where he says these launching pad, these anti-ballistic missiles can be transformed within a few hours into offensive missile launching pads. Look, if these anti-ballistic missiles are placed in Eastern Europe, if those missiles are placed on water, patrolling the Mediterranean and northern seas and in Alaska, almost the whole Russian territory would be encircled by these systems. So, I don't know.
I gotta jump in just for 1 second.
Yeah, please.
And this is off subject, but the corporate dam in Georgia lost.
Oh, good. Well.
So, no.
Republican.
Here's the thing, I actually got in an argument with my mom just a couple hours ago about this, and I honestly feel like shit about it because I was trying to make a point, and I lost my temper with her in a way that I usually never do when I talk about politics. But I was trying, because to be honest, no, Ossoff losing is not a good thing, not in the slightest.
Oh, I get it.
But but Ossoff winning wouldn't have been a great thing either. And my mom's frustrated with me partly because I put it off with the sarcastic remark, "Oh, goody, the Blue Dog won," because it looked very early on like he was going to win early in the night, but it looks like the tally sort of fell out of favor for him at the last minute. But I feel like there's a broader point that perhaps, and my mom's typically sides with our positions from a theoretical perspective, but from a practical perspective, she ends up supporting people like Blue Dogs in order to stave off people who she feels is worse, people like Trump, etc. There's the lesser two evils. I'm beginning to think now, from that last conversation I had, that perhaps it's necessary for some form of dialectic to between us to form at some point, because as much as
to your point,
no, because honestly, the people like Sam Seder, no, I don't think there's any useful conversation to be had with them. But the average people who are just scared shitless and are looking for any raft have to hold themselves to. I don't think it's. I don't know. Like, I'm beginning to starting to think that maybe we owe it to at least to them, if nobody else, because frankly nobody else would bother listening to us. But maybe at least to them, perhaps some explanation as to how we got to where we are.
See, I think that. So how do I word this best? I said a while ago, I think people have it, completely backward to say, like, being theoretical versus being practical. Well, that being practical about issues is where you would win over independents, and even some people that voted for Trump, I believe.
Yep.
So
well, let's talk about practicality. It was better to lose this race with Ossoff. And the reason why it was better to lose is because if he won, they pumped, $80 bazillion into one House race. Yeah. Okay. Not like Montana, where they didn't do a damn thing. Okay. They pumped $1 zillion into it. The guy still lost. Okay. That's a good thing. You have to look at it this way, from a practical standpoint. We don't want the party going in that direction. So him losing is not a bad thing, because he was only going to be there for 1 year before he had to rerun. Okay? He had to rerun.
Same concept as the Democrats losing everything across the country. It's wake the fuck up. You're going to keep losing if you don't change the path you're on, if you don't start answering to people.
Exactly. That's my point about that race. So looking at it as we lost a seat, that seat wasn't going to change the balance of power in the House of Representatives.
Right.
That seat cost a ton of dough to lose. Mm-hmm. And the reason why they wanted to highlight, showcase that one, because the media showcased it, the Democrats showcased it, was because they found a corporate guy who might be able to win if they pumped enough cash into it. They're not going to do that in 2018.
I think it's kind of
either he sold out once he went to DC and took the big money and did, because he wasn't promising anything. He didn't promise he was going to raise taxes. He didn't promise that he was going to support Medicare for all. So, I mean, what do we, why? Why should we be happy, or why should we be rooting for that guy just because it's one seat in? First off, we shouldn't worry about a goddamn thing below the Mason-Dixon line. I don't want to hear about how this is the thing. When Bernie was running, remember, they front-loaded the Confederacy on us to start the primaries. Okay,
Yeah.
so every state they went to was the most conservative state in the union. Okay, and that doesn't mean that the African Americans are somehow like some progressive super, it's like the woman said tonight. Her mother agrees that gays shouldn't get married. Her mother, agrees with all these, the people in the South are more conservative, and they're not good for, if they're not going to give us electoral votes, then they shouldn't be front loaded. They should be, mixed in with Super Tuesday or whatever, or, they shouldn't be where we're trying to figure out who's going to be the next leader of our party. Because if you ought to give voice to the New York, the New York domain, the West Coast, the Southwest, there are other parts of this country that are a whole lot more important than where Clinton had a stronghold. And that are facing, that constantly say, okay, yes, we're going to support you for disaster relief when you're, a city that's 87 feet below the sea level floods, and I mean, that's what we do as Americans. That's what we do as progressives. We say, sure. But when you try to drag along Republicans and say, we really need to do something like more firefighters on the West Coast, or talk about global warming, they're going to say, oh no, well, that's my constituency. Well, blah blah blah. No, you can't use your constituency or the fact that you're in a conservative district. You either run like a progressive or you're not a progressive, and that's just the way we should treat them from now on.
I get that. No, I like strategically, I get that. And to be honest, I'm with you all the way on this. It's just that I'm trying to figure out how do we explain that to other people. That's the part because I don't know about you, but I don't like being an aggressive asshole about things. If I can try and talk about something civilly and peacefully, to try and help them look at something from a different angle, I'd much rather do that. Because I don't like getting into arguments with friends and family over this stuff. Because it's not, because at a certain point, if you're descending into yelling matches over semantics, it's not helpful. It's not helpful for anybody. It's not helpful for you. It's not helpful for me. It's not helpful for the people we're arguing with.
But what I'm saying is, I gave you the exact list of how you argue it. You argue it from the standpoint of this person wasn't going, once again, it was a person we were pretty sure wasn't going to pull off a miracle in Georgia. They keep on telling us, oh, they're going to turn Texas blue. They're going to turn Georgia blue. They never do. They pump tons of cash in where their reliable Democratic votes for Wall Street are. I'm sorry. I'm gonna shut up now.
They can work hard.
Lauren.
Well, I write. Hold on. I write like it's kind of like Arabic with a little Chinese, and I think it's some hieroglyphics. Just letting you know.
Oh.
Okay. So I'm gonna go real quick before. I think when we're talking about something, before we change the discussion, I think it might be helpful to those that are listening if we go, hey, we're going to move on.
Right.
Stop it. Because I wanted to chime in about the war, but I wanted to hear Broken with a lot of that stuff.
Okay.
Because he's just a plethora of knowledge.
Yes, he is.
So are you, Elias. I mean, all you guys are compared to me. Remember, I'm the Joey in the room. But here's the thing. Let me just bring this up, and then I'll kind of move on. But if you've ever seen this, oh crap, where is it? I'm getting it.
I should do a better job moderating, because you're right. We do need to, go around the room and try to. It's just one subject leads to another a lot.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for bringing up the election. It was just I saw it on the screen. So I wanted to give you guys some info.
Nobody should apologize for anything.
That's okay. So here's what I wanted to bring up before you guys jumped off of war, because
no, there's a lot more to talk about with Russia.
Yeah, well, we can talk about war forever, but the biggest thing that I wanted to point out is if you looked at what I just posted, the guy there is Major General Smedley Butler. Threw this out there after World War II. War is a racket. And I hear, the reason why we're going into here, or the reason why we're going into there, is because of this country and that country and this, that, and the other thing. But what it really comes down to most of the time is I think resources and the military-industrial complex, from what I've researched over time. So, and the biggest problem is I think everybody gets that. Everybody really gets that, except for a lot of Democrats recently, and a lot of Republicans. That's the thing. And in talking about Elios, and your thing about when you're trying to convince somebody at the Thanksgiving table that they've completely lost their mind because they're thinking.
I'm not trying to tell them that they lost their mind. I'm saying try to look at it.
No, but I'm just. Of course, you're not going to. No, you don't want to say that. In your mind, you might be thinking that, but because you're just trying to enlighten them. But as I just wrote here on that little piece of paper, invite them to hear. Have them watch, what we're talking about. I mean, we have great arguments. We have great debates. We actually present information that can help your argument because our perspective. Okay, and I hate when I start talking this. I cut through what I say a lot. Our perspective, in my opinion, seems to be cut and dry and not very speculative, not assumptive. It's coming from core facts. If we are going to be throwing out a laid claim or something that is opinionated, we usually state it. But there's so many sources out there that your family members and my family members and people at work are getting this information from the media. And, they're watching cable. They're watching MSNBC. Mm-hmm. They love watching, Don Lemon talk about, Bill Cosby and crap like that. It's just stupid. And we're getting our information from I think, probably the most solid forms of reporting and journalism that I believe everybody should be getting, but the sad thing is they're not.
So I think it would be a great idea if everyone here, like on a particular after hours, like I'm going to post this. I guess Ebon, I have to wait till after it's done. I guess maybe to.
No, I could just send me the details on direct message. I'll just copy and paste it.
So it's from Consortium News, Robert Perry, whom I love. But I think it would be great if there are people that go back and maybe watch this. I mean, I don't know if they are, but we could post things of where each of us like read this, so that our stuff is backed up with, our sources. We can actually source some of what we're referencing, what we're saying.
Right there, which is I probably do it too much, but I only do it because it's a source, and I think it's important that I reference what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so regarding family and getting, I said this on one of my calls to Tim not too long ago. I have found now that the Democrats are every bit as bad, or maybe worse. Maybe I'm just remembering wrong, but as the Fox News viewers, we used to say, they're so brainwashed and they don't listen. I'm finding that with Democrats, like you can't even get past one sentence and they're just shut down because they're completely, it's all Rachel Maddow in their head, I guess. I don't know. You cannot get through, and it's instantly turns ugly. I mean, and it always ends up in personal attacks. I find that fascinating. I don't know what it is about, like when you get in a political argument with someone, why it can't just stay on the topic. But when people get, like, I guess, backed into a corner and they don't like the facts you're giving them, that's,
Well, it's because
when comes out.
When you're talking with them, when they don't use logic, they have beliefs. And beliefs are tied into emotions and things that aren't logically based. So when you're attacking their belief structure, you're attacking them.
Well, there's identity too. I mean, people place a lot of their identity in their political beliefs. I mean, in a sense, you see the same thing in mostly Britain. Soccer thugs, you know, and their home team, like they'll spaz out and smash up a town because the team is their identity.
Right, and that when you have
like we do every time there's a Super Bowl or something.
Those are just college kids.
Okay, come on.
No, I realize there's a different sort of culture, but yeah, I had to point out once again, American exceptionalism does not exist. Okay, I mean, and
The only thing we're exceptional is
interpersonal things. I don't talk politics if I know that I'm going to run into a wall, and I will usually sit and allow it to happen for a little while. I'll listen, and it's like, I don't know, maybe it was Thanksgiving. We were talking about, somehow Obama came up, you know, and I had to go through, I sat there, and then I just said, you realize that, you know, Obama's got us in 7 different countries at war. You know, and I went through the long list of things that Obama had done under the guise of being a good Democrat that happened, you know, and with the support of other Democrats. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
We've all been there before, dude. Anybody
I tend to get emphatic when I hear something that really grates on me. So I try not to, like my own family, my side, my parents and stuff. That was like the way my dad and I would talk about politics. He would sit and watch Fox News with my brother and stuff, and then he'd say something, and that would just triggered. You know, Eric's got the right word. I you know, there are times when I think I even put this on Twitter. There's triggered, and then there's pulling the pin. And I tend to be more of pulling the pin than triggered. You know, I mean, there's a chance I might miss you with the gun, but I won't miss you with the grenade. You know, and it's not. I don't even hit them with personal things because I love the people I'm talking to. You know, and trust me, my father was very good at saying, I can't believe how goddamn stupid you are. But, you know, he could do that. But I would purposely say, no, Dad, you know, and I would try to walk him through some points that just were different from Fox News. And that idea of some Fox News stole my daddy is a true thing. I mean, my dad was never my grandpa was a socialist. He was a red and, you know, worked with the miners. My dad was the polar opposite. You know, he was management. He hated unions. He hated, hated liberals. You know, Nixon was good, that kind of thing. So you see, and so historical perspective, that was what I was going to bring up. James is not a Joey. I refuse to accept James as the Joey.
I like being the Joey.
James is the James.
James probably has an IQ.
You are more the
50 or something.
You are more the jester in a Shakespeare play. In a Shakespeare play, the jester, or there's always somebody who's seemingly not of the upper crust, who does all the truth telling. Okay, so the idea of Joey just didn't know. You know, and you speak truth. So that's the difference.
I appreciate that.
Shut up again because I've been.
Thank you. Okay, so I just it's important to note. It is important to note that I am posting Jamal's interview everywhere, on Dem, on CNN, on MSNBC, on everything, and I am posting, and I post us as much as I can. If I'm not at work and I'm home, I'm posting. I'm throwing us out there.
Thank you.
I think the more of us that throw us out there and put us out there, I mean, It's marketing, man. I'm marketing because I want people to hear us. I want people to feel us. The perspectives that we have here are so important right now. That's all I'm saying. Okay, bye.
This to be a model.
Oh, thank you for that.
Thank you. Greatly appreciate it.
So everybody else do it.
And I'd like people with challenges. I'd like people with challenges. You know, I don't mind being challenged.
I want a job. Like, that's easy. Like, I'd love to, but I also have to think I need to be employed in a year. With a stable career, and being an anarchist as it is already makes that a tough proposition. Because you're either going to be you're either going to be forced to make money working for a private school, which I'd probably shoot myself before they cut off my health benefits, or I'd have to work for the state, in which case, oh boy.
Are you
an anarchist working for the state? I'm sure that has no logical contradiction whatsoever.
Would you guys say are you I'm okay with you classifying us as anarchists, but I would say we're
no. I'm personally an anarchist. I self-identify as an anarchist.
Okay.
So
what would our, if you were to label us as a group? If you were to, I'm just asking you, Elias. What would you label us? I mean, what would be the word of this group?
I think by and large, the vast majority of us have a social democratic leaning, and to be honest, as a matter of practical purposes, I identify as I collaborate a lot with social democrats because I think ultimately they serve the benefit of the working class. Now, I disagree with them about whether or not their policy should be an end goal, the end goal itself, but that's something I can hash out. I can hash out at a later point.
Oh, totally an aside, but like regarding the Colbert thing.
So I'd say it's a coalition of lefties.
Is this advertising? I'm drinking that. Sorry.
What are you drinking?
I'm just joking about the Colbert thing about him always opening a butt. I said I'm advertising. If we have certain things on our show, we have to attribute it.
Yeah, we could start branding and getting royalties. Is that what you're saying?
Well, not really. I was just joking around.
Yeah,
we can start our own merchandise.
Yeah, we're merchandising.
After hours, the mug.
Or the triggered shirt.
So
that'd be good to have
after hours, the flamethrower.
September, I was talking all over the place about doing a thing like this. I called it roundtables. I was thinking like it'd be like roundtable A, B, C, D.
Ooh, roundtable.
And then just like if people didn't get along in Group A, some people just go to Group B, and then if it overfills with like a dozen people, like as a cap or like a limit, and then just like basically eventually, but they all sort of work together, coordinate together, like have a spokesperson that like, so A, B, C, and D are going to meet the spokesperson of those groups that have all already discussed these topics. There's a lot of possibilities, but it's a pretty cool thing. Like I was saying at the beginning of the show about, I don't know if anybody was listening. It was the very beginning we were just talking about. It's kind of like, it's whatever. Just talking about what it is. So
that's a good idea. So what if we all started posting and there were more people that came on, Evan, and we couldn't have 40 people in this group. It would sound like white noise in a restaurant. So what I'm saying is, what's the maximum people do you think to stay in control? If
12 is a comfortable number. 12 is a comfortable number.
Yeah, I agree.
Seems like a maximum too.
Yeah, I agree.
And it depends on how long it goes on. So for example, if you had 12 people and this after hours thing was only 30 minutes, not a lot of people would have enough time to talk. So depending on the time, I'd say about an hour, 12 would be a good comfortable number. If it was half an hour, maybe 6 people. Time flies really quick. I mean, right now, it's been
that it does.
an hour, 11 minutes.
The conversation itself, we were talking about raising hands and electronically and physically, but also So just I had the thought that in the way, in the terms of the discussion, the back and forth, sometimes there's like just a quick note that you want to mention that's like a sentence or a breath or two, and then sometimes there's something that's like an anecdote or a longer story type thing. Sometimes there's different types of things, so it'd be cool if like, I mean, and also I was just going to say that basically some people are different, so some people could sit by, and a lot of people do, and I respect that, like sit by and be really reticent, or maybe pay attention or be on camera sitting there, but they're not saying very much, and that's really cool too. So if you have a lot of people like that, then in those occasions and people being more selective with which I feel on times what they choose to say, then I guess then it could support a larger room, and it's always like always a lot of factors, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's going to grow. I'm hoping it grows. I mean, if we get people like Jamal on there, if Tim ever showed up, and I keep throwing posts on Debbie's YouTube and her Facebook. You gotta get on here because she's responded to me a few times.
On who?
Crap that I've said.
Oh,
Debbie, the same progressive.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
This is just this isn't really anything for growing. This is just kind of an idea. And then same thing with the 4-person panel that we just had with Tim, H.A., Elizabeth Beck, and Holly Seeliger. We can mimic anything pretty much the mainstream media does, how they do their panels. The future is going to be pretty technologically cool. I'm going to be building parts of it. I don't know if it's going to be alone or with other people. Aeolus, can you mute when you type a lot? I try to do the same thing, but
I'll just pull myself over.
Like WikiLeaks, for example, they just made a Twitter post, and Eric listed all these people because they said they were gonna create. What was it, Eric? Aeolus, I'm muting you for a sec. All right, go ahead, Eric.
What was that? What was I doing
Twitter,
today?
WikiLeaks, they said that they're going to create a powerful new media. Do you know any details on that?
That I really don't know. I mean, they just tweeted it and they were asking for names, so I just shouted out a bunch of names.
Okay.
That was cool.
So as for the I lost it out.
Aeolus, mute please when you, or whoever's typing. I think that's James.
That was not me.
Okay.
That was me. Sorry. I was just seeing if it was me.
All right.
I will mute in the future of my typing.
It's just if it's a long one, if someone's talking a lot.
All right.
Anyways, go ahead. Continue.
All right. So I think War is a Racket is something everybody should read. I think it's important that everybody understand the mechanism and the orchestrating and the creation of war. I truly, just by my research, and I do a lot. It's obvious. It's just like solar power. I mean, you're not going to bring solar power around because it's cheap. It costs no money. It's not really that expensive. The sun is free. When you have to dig, when you have to use resources, when you have to build, when you have to take out loans, when you have to do far more to get a mineral out of the ground, it's worth it. In that aspect. And I know that Zork's just salivating right now with this because he knows I'm right. It's all about profit and people are dying. I mean, Russia, I was posting last night that Russia has 7,000 nuclear capable warheads. We have like 6,500 or something. And so getting in a confrontation with Russia, I don't really foresee a nuclear war, but I really kind of see us doing it first. I mean, we've already dropped 2 bombs in Japan.
I don't think the end game isn't to end it all. Otherwise, all the riches that the rich have been trying to accumulate will just stop. There's no point into it.
Yeah.
Their thing is to maintain control and have the perception that everything can end, and then people live in fear. And the whole renewable energies. I know I'm a conspiracy theorist, but if you read about Nikola Tesla and his free energy concept and kind of how it got stopped and things like that, the thing is, we don't want these rich people don't want renewable energy, because once you have it, you can't get rid of it. You'd have to destroy it, and there's no way to accumulate things if there's no supply and demand. So if there's no demand in energy, they're not going to gain any money from it. And then
Yvonne, can I say the thing I remembered it?
Go ahead.
I was going to comment and say that Yvonne was mentioning that we could do the same things that the media do, but what they do is actually a lot more behind the scenes, like coming up with the stories, following different like research and I don't know, teamwork stuff there. Like there's like we can easily we can do like the panels. We can do like a John Oliver and Bill Maher and type of a thing, and have like little pictures on the side when we're talking or when somebody's talking. But then a lot of that comes back to like being prepared and like writing something out in pretty specific terms. And I think that's like a big, for me, that's just a big, I want to say it's a big promise of what like this kind of technology could enable people to eventually be so bold to think that they could do, which is like make a show comparable to like John Oliver's show. There's a lot of research and a lot of work that goes into that presentation for 20 minutes or something, and it can be like even just sleep camp and back to tonight. So
yeah, I mean, people have to have a decent enough computer, but I mean, it's like I don't have to. If, for example, Jamal Thomas couldn't do it because his computer's not strong enough. So the last 2 times I had to do it for him, and it could just stream through my computer's processing. And it's the same thing that everyone does when they do their video encoding, when they upload whatever video that they have to YouTube or Facebook and stuff like that. It uses their power of their computers, not your computers, to do the job. So that's kind of the future. It's the way it's going to be, because you can't compete by buying millions of dollars of computers. You just can't, unless if you do, you're going to be beholden to the people that lent you the money to build those computers. So we have to think smarter, like years ahead of what people are currently thinking to make money, and not make it about making money. And it's interesting that when I started thinking about all this, what's the strategic end goal of what I want to accomplish, and it's pretty much to create freedom of speech everywhere, anywhere, and to connect people without having to have reliance on internet service providers, reliance on powerful computers, like isolated powerful computers and servers everywhere, but everyone just kind of pitches in. If they want to connect, everyone uses their own resources to help pitch in. And so it's going to be interesting. There's this fight going on, and I think people are seeing it, and it's been going on for a while. Capitalism versus the future, right? What's after capitalism? Are we going to stay at this for the entire human history of mankind, or are we going to move on towards something better?
I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. That's all beautiful sentiments and a beautiful dream for our point, or what you said about what you want to do with it. I was gonna say totally agree with that, and then with and like your question, but I also was gonna say I had this idea though, because I want to make a place where people could come together and work on sketches or work on, like I said, like maybe something like a John Oliver presentation, and just come together and work on that, and get it done, and whatnot, and get your opinion out there in a really concise way, somewhat entertaining way. But a way I want to kind of do that is be cool. I think it'd be cool if there was like a nonprofit to get together resources to, like, in every city, I guess, let's say, is some kind of level, get like a 24/7 or like all day long, like a open mic, but also with like really good recording technology, so that you could like make a pretty good recording of your music or of your open mic or your stand-up comedy or whatever it is. So that's just an idea I want to throw out there. That
Well,
I think, isn't it? I mean, how much is a camera? How much was a camera in 1970?
Yeah.
But I mean, you can wait as long as you wait, or you can just do it. But I mean, for one, I don't have resources.
Well, the thing is, you can also look up. I think it was like something access television, basically public access television. If you look at that, basically, the FEC, they allow up to 5% of the budget, I believe, to go into certain cities and towns, whoever wants it, and they set it up, and they put it on their own like local networks, and now they've got their work with other partners where they can actually put it up on the internet now. But basically, if you want to do anything and you don't have any resources, see if there's anywhere near you, your town, your county, whatever, and you can rent equipment. You can rent their studios.
Want to, recruit and collaborate. I want to work together with people to collaborate. So I think that's more well done. Like just do that better, just being online and talking to people. But
I think the best way to do it is comments. Is if you go to YouTube.
His name is Chuck Taggart, and he has like this gumbo recipe, and it's called Gumbo Pages. And like if you go to Gumbo Pages, he also has a tab. It's like you can just type non-commercial radio, and he has a tab like non-commercial radio, and he has a list of all Canadian and like Ireland and I guess Australia, but Canada, all of the United States, all of the radio stations that are non-commercial. And he says at the beginning, there's a nice little spiel about like in the 70s, I guess they passed a law protecting everything from like 88 to 92 or 3. And so he's like, that's why you can go anywhere in the country and you'll be able to find these great stations. But then there's just a list and links to all of those stations. I think that must be like similar sort of like funding in the way that they fund NPR and then the public asset. And there used to be a wonderful thing more people should know about and want to bring back and not condemn, which is the NEA, or National Endowment for the Arts. That's also another one of the several great things out there for our past.
Yeah.
And our present. So like you go to WOG from Athens, Georgia, CHMR from Newfoundland, KKCR from Hawaii is amazing. Those are some of like the radio stations I always, well, especially the first two, always check out. EBC6 is also pretty sweet.
Here's what's interesting, and we lost. Did you guys ever listen? Whoever listened to Randy Rhoads? Anybody used to listen to Randy Rhoads? Yeah, she's gone off the deep end. Stephanie Miller used to be there too, but they were on AM radio, Air America or whatever it was, just recently, and I've been trying to find out. Because AM radio, you can go anywhere, and it's pretty solid. But as far as trying to get an AM radio station, it's not going to happen. Because, and let me show you the reason why. Just want to make sure I'm in here. Sorry. The reason why, and Snark probably already knows this. Wait, right here. Because I spoke to a guy. I emailed a guy at the FCC, Dale, and he said it's not going to happen for a long time. They've already been taken up. You've got to wait in line. Notices. It's just they've already been taken up. People have bought these spots already, so it's just not going to happen. And the way people used to get their information is they used to. I mean, if you're in your car or truck, you can't really watch. You can. I mean, everybody's got Sirius Radio and XM and all that stuff, right? Which is fine, but some people, like if you're out in rural areas that aren't very populated and don't have a good signal, AM radio is just there. And no matter if the Sirius goes down or cable news goes down, AM radio is going to be around. And I still listen to AM radio. The sad part about it is it's filled with a lot of Republican, religious, and a ton of Mexican channels, which I don't really speak Spanish, but that used to be the way to go. Everybody used to get their information on talk radio, but now this is the new platform. This is the way we're doing it. So I think we should stay in the realm and build, because we are building. And I think Ring Central. How long has Ring Central been around? For a while, right? 10 years. I've seen it for a while. It's been a while.
Yeah, they've been around for a while. There's a lot of companies that similar to it that's been around. Some get bought out, just like Link got bought out by Microsoft, Skype, and there's others that are around, but it's mostly for business. It's mostly for corporations. I mean, this right now is about, without contract, month to month is $44.99 per month. And thing is, it's there's not much of a competitive market out there. I guess there's a few out there, but there's a certain price point. I think once they catch on that there's really nothing similar to this out there quite yet, and customization's not great, but it's still, if it's being used for this rather than for actual like business, they might want to cut back on it and charge more, because I mean,
don't give them any ideas.
Yeah, I mean, if like, I don't think Tim would be able to afford it. It's pretty expensive, but you know, people who are well off now like me, I can afford it. And right now I have so one's for Tim, one's for me for this, and of course a third account is for shared for different people, like Stevie, Kelley, Eric, and then Nico and Jamarl. So
thank you.
They all have the usernames and passwords. The only problem is none of them have powerful enough computers to actually do it. Maybe Kelley has because of her husband, but that's the difficult part. So the next step is for a short term is just create some type of kind of like a, I guess you could say, cloud computer, so anyone could just log on and then just type in a couple key things that it needs, and it'll start up everything on its own. So that way I don't have to be around to start it, but maybe, because that would be the cheaper route. Otherwise it would be me building computers for everyone to ship out to so they can do it, but then, you know, the same problem happens when there's another person on network that we feel needs to do it, another person, etc. So it starts to get pretty time intensive.
It's kind of like World of Warcraft, which I got a 2 gig computer, which is good. I got a good video card, so I play, don't laugh, World of Warcraft. But here's the cool thing: my mom plays, and she's almost 80 years old, and we just, it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you've got it. So is there something, maybe, since you're a computer coding engineer, I'm not sure what you really do, Evan, but maybe there's something out there, like GoToMeeting is similar, Ring Central, but is there some way you can put the burden on a server-based facility so that you can just go on? Does that make sense?
Well, this is what it is. That's what they do. The only problem is when we live stream it through YouTube, it has to be through some other thing, like all the titles, all the chat that you can see up there, all the title, the description, whose stream key, whoever's going to be channeling it through their YouTube stream, and all of that has to be configured through a computer, so the output goes onto YouTube or Facebook or wherever, and that takes some processing power. Mostly. Oh, go ahead.
No, it's just like that. So that's similar to what Blizzard is, and I've been at their facility. They've got 10 acres of servers, like just these towers and towers and towers. But your computer, if your computer isn't built, if you don't have a video card 850 whatever, and you're just not, you know what I'm talking about. And if you're not set up properly, you can't play those games. That's the way it is now with towers.
Yeah. And it's grossly expensive. Like, if you guys went out to buy a new computer to play like the latest video game, I think you'll probably end up buying, you won't know what you need. You'll end up spending like $1,200-$1,400. The thing is, if you know what you're doing, how to build, you don't even need to know how to fix things, just how to troubleshoot. You can go out, buy a lot of used stuff, Craigslist, whatever, and buy things for probably $250, build a whole computer that's going to be just as fast, if not faster, than $1,200 computer you buy from Best Buy. So
Broken, he has a phone.
Mm-hmm.
right, Broken? You just have a phone?
I have a phone and an iPad. That's what. So at some point, you know, it's not going to happen for a while. We're sort of
But he's
in
coming in
betwixt.
fine.
We're in betwixt economics, but I have a very fast line because we have a business line. But I would like to build a tower for my TV because I use my Xbox now, and the Xbox goes through. You know, I can get on the internet with it, and you know, go to videos I can't watch on YouTube or whatever. You know, it's handy for that, but I don't think that it'll pulling this off. But you know, in the future, yeah, I want to build something. So I'll get with you and figure that out because I don't want to spend a ton. I can't spend a ton of dough, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I'm not saying
at this point, but at this point, yeah, no. I what I'm saying is, I would like
it's
to work.
cool that he's able to do it with. I mean, I got a big
Yeah.
slamming gaming computer, but the thing is you can still get on here, and I hear him well, and I talk to him, and then Jamal gets on last night, and he's, you know, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Well, I have a fast internet connection and reasonably fast, and my phone. I bought my phone for Philly originally. So, or you know, when I got on our plan, because I didn't even have a phone before then.
Okay.
And I bought a phone specifically. I asked my daughter to find me one that worked for shooting video and stuff. I'm shaky as hell, and you know, I needed a little stick I can hit the buttons with sometimes because my fingers are too dumb. So, but it may be that my phone's extra good. I don't know.
Well, I think it's really important we keep it where that's not a barrier to anybody trying to join in, you know?
Well, exactly. And I mean, the phone, and I bought this headphones. I've been using this one instead of the wireless one just because it drops out every once in a while. But this one cost me like $15 for this headphone setup. So, you know, I mean, it's got a low price point to get on here. Yes, so I think that's what's one of the beauties of this. Ivan was brilliant, and this Ring Central thing works better than any other. Works better in Skype and everything else I've ever used. I've never had this easy a time, and let alone this easy a time with a whole bunch of people on it. You know,
he did his research for sure.
Yeah.
So. Stevie, you've got some cool stuff behind you. Stevie?
Wait, hold on 1 second. Are we going to talk about any more news items, or should we switch to anything goes?
Go ahead.
Where should I put more Russia stuff in? I mean, I don't really care. It could be either place, but
we could do more tomorrow because I think a lot of people that the stuff that you shared, if they may not have read through it or watched
right.
it.
That's a good idea because I really I'm just kind of learning more about NATO and what all happened and how it was tied to the fall of the Berlin Wall and like promises that were made. And so, yeah, if anybody else is interested or knows, Broken, you probably just know this stuff. But it's really, I guess I'd like to talk more about, you know, this whole concept of American exceptionalism and that we should just go around the world doing whatever. I mean, if Russia was encircling our country with all these, you know, with NATO, if we were in that position, how would we be reacting? And also, I'd love to talk more about, you know, people will respond with, oh, Putin's this horrible dictator. And I do understand that, like, you know, gays and the LGBTQ rights are, you know, terrible in Russia. But I mean, it's dangerous to drive while black in this country. Should they intervene with what we're doing to our citizens? We're poisoning them.
Well, we're one president away from having someone just as worse in that regard.
Right.
Mike Pence. So.
True. And I do think Putin's his very conservative, I don't know, homophobic, whatever views kind of came out. I mean, that was pretty evident in in the documentary, but I don't know. I mean, that's a separate topic to me. I just would like, I would like to talk more about like how this all plays, you know, a threat of war, whether it's nuclear war or just, you know, anyway. So yeah, everybody interested, read the two, there were two articles there, and there's a lot about NATO and that Gorbachev, like, that it was like a verbal agreement, I guess, that NATO wouldn't expand, and then they have. So anyway.
I think it'd be good if we did like if we did on, like, you guys are on Twitter and Facebook, and so I mean the people that are on Twitter and the people on Facebook can share it, but share a list like with the announcement for the show's going to be on after Tim kind of thing.
That's a good idea. Yeah, I should
do a list of links so that people can read through it, like the list links I sent you for the fusion centers. You know, we could talk that, and you know, within a little bit of time, people could read through that stuff and have a basic knowledge of what.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That, you know what, that actually might kind of help us focus more too for each. I mean, I think it's great we all get off on, you know, one topic leads to another, but yeah, if we had like at least one central thing and everyone's read a little bit, then maybe we can, yeah, that might organize that a little bit more. So, okay, cool. Sounds good. So
it's a learning process. We're learning as we go, man. I mean, this is really a cool experiment. I'm so happy that you guys allow me to share the space with you, because I think this is something that could be really, really, really great. You know, that it even greater than it is. And I think the first hour being our political hour and on a topic is a great idea, because then we can blow it all off when it comes to the next, you know. So I'm willing to go either way. Yvonne, I'm just shutting up again.
So for what you were saying, I don't use Facebook. I'm on Twitter all the time, but we could also announce it at the end of, like we just did, like, okay, next time we're going to talk more about Russia and American exceptionalism and that concept. But as far as where to, Iban, what do you think about where to sort of announce it?
We can we'll figure it out. Let's just talk about that offline.
Sure, sure. Okay.
So everyone on chat, just stay with us. Everyone on Ring Central, just stay here. I'm just stopping the stream and restarting it, switching it to a new layout.
Goodbye, everybody on After Hours.